And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome aboard. I'm National Weather Service meteorologist Peter Chan, and this is your Alaska Marine Weather Outlook on Monday, August 4th, 2025. And starting with the state of the sea ice, we have open water across the Chukchi Sea all along the coastline from the Bering Strait up to Wainwright and Utqiagvik. There's still a little bit of remnant ice from Utqiagvik eastward to Prudhoe Bay and a little bit around Kaktovik, but again, the slow late summer melt-off continues up that way, and it's been a warm weekend, warmer temperatures at least on the north slope, but we've had a cold front come on down and then it's just stalled out, so this stalled frontal boundary is causing northeasterly winds along the Beaufort Sea coast, cooler temperatures in the mid and upper 30s, so the melt-off will continue at a slow pace there in the far north. On the satellite imagery, high pressure situated over the Gulf has brought beautiful summer weather to south central areas around the Kenai Peninsula, Anchorage Bowl. We also still have some areas of sunshine through the interior, with temperatures in many cases hitting or breaking 70 degrees. We still have a few showers lingering in areas of the Panhandle, but the main weather feature, a couple of things, is the stalled out front that runs about like this along the Brooks Range, and there'll be ahead of it some scattered showers and thunderstorms, and then out here over the lower Bering, a low pressure circulation with a front pushing through the eastern Aleutians. And as we go into Tuesday afternoon, we have kind of a double barrel system, the low that's scooting along the north side of the central eastern Aleutians with this front, and then a secondary low that has a surge of warmer moist air. This is going to increase with southeasterly winds along the Alaska Peninsula as we get into Tuesday night. Some of the rainfall could be heavier, especially around Chiknik, Perryville, and then that'll spread up into Kodiak Island early on Wednesday morning. These areas could pick up 3 inches of rainfall. The high will still be situated over the Gulf with the ridge axis nudging toward the Kenai Peninsula Tuesday afternoon, so it can squeak out maybe one more nice day along that area of the Gulf Coast. But then by the time we get into Wednesday, the ridge is starting to break down and get pinched off as this front slowly works its way northeastward. So clouds will be increasing across this area of the Gulf, the Kenai Peninsula, and we'll have rain falling there across Kodiak Island, pushing up into Kamishak Bay, Homer area, and the winds here at the entrance of Kennedy entrance there at the Cook Inlet could be gale force to 35 knots on Wednesday. So here is the marine forecast for the southeast. Just variable winds around Lynn Canal, waves a foot or two at most. Look for northwest winds 10 knots, Petersburg down to Ketchikan, Metlakatla, with waves a foot or two. Outer coast, look for westerly winds off Cape Suckling, turning northwesterly from Yakutat offshore there of Cross Sound and Sitka before turning northerly 15 to 20 knots, Port Alexander to off of Prince of Wales Island, waves 4 or 5 feet. On Wednesday, kind of a mixed bag of winds in through the inner channel. South winds to 15 knots, waves 2 to 3 feet, Lynn Canal. South winds of 10 knots, waves running a couple of feet around Petersburg, and then 4 areas, Ketchikan, Metlakatla, northwest winds 15 knots with 2 to 3 foot waves. And again, winds will be westerly 10 knots off of Cape Suckling, becoming northwesterly outside of Yakutat Bay, increasing 15 to 20 knots all the way down the coastline off of Sitka and Craig with waves 4 to 5 feet. Now across the northwestern Gulf, surrounding Kenai Peninsula, including Prince William Sound, variable winds, just 10 knots, Prince William Sound, waves a foot or two. Outside of Hinchinbrook entrance, west winds to 15 knots, and then as we go up through Cook Inlet, southeast winds 15 knots at Kennedy entrance, 4 foot waves, and then those winds turn south-southwest, 10 knots from off of Anchor Point to Anchorage with waves maybe a couple feet there. But Wednesday, with that frontal system gradually creeping up from the southwest, we're going to see winds increasing on the north side there of Kodiak Island, Shelikof Strait, Kamishak Bay, Kennedy entrance, 35-knot gales with waves building to 10 to 11 feet. As we go up Cook Inlet, northeast winds 15 knots off Anchor Point, 10 knots out of Anchorage with waves 2 to 3 feet there. Still just variable winds, so out here around Prince William Sound outside of Hinchinbrook entrance to Kayak Island, and waves just 2-3 feet. And for Kodiak Island on Tuesday and across much of the Alaska Peninsula, winds will generally be out of the southeast 15 to 20 knots, waves 4 feet or so on the North Pacific side and 3 feet on the Bering side. On Wednesday, as that low pressure system comes up toward the tip of the Alaska Peninsula, just north of the far eastern Aleutians, that front ahead of it, we're looking at 30 knot southeast winds, Akiak to off Kodiak, but then within Shelikof Strait, easterly gales to 40 knots with waves building 8 to 10 feet there. And those easterly winds of 30 knots, Kuskokwim Bay off Chiknik and off to the northeast of Cold Bay. The heaviest rains will be running along and just north of that front. And then for the Aleutians on Tuesday, here we have the low circulation just north of Adak and Atka. And ahead of it, southeast to south winds 15 to 20 knots, just variable winds near the low center at Atka and Adak at 10 knots. And then on the backside, winds go west to northwest, 25 knots, Kiska to Shimia. And on Wednesday, you can see where my head is here. This is kind of where the low circulation. So southwest winds across Dutch Harbor on Alaska at 15 knots, variable Nikolsky at just 10 knots. West winds 15 knots there, Atka and Adak, and then getting west of Adak through Kiska and Shimia, northwest winds to 20 knots. On Tuesday, Kuskokwim Bay and Bristol Bay will see easterly winds of 25 knots with waves running 3-4 feet. As we go up the coast, offshore flow, easterly winds 10-15 knots, waves 2 to 3 feet, lower Yukon coast and out there through Norton Sound. On Wednesday, with the area of low pressure down here in the southeast corner of the Bering, just on the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, we could see 30-knot easterly winds within Bristol Bay, 5-foot waves, northeast winds to 30 knots out of Kuskokwim Bay with 3-foot waves, 25-knot northeast winds, St. Paul and St. George. And then as we go up along the coast, 10 to 15-knot northeasterly winds parallel to a good portion of the lower Yukon coastline there, 2 to 3-foot waves, and then northeast wind 5 knots within that wider expanse of Norton Sound with waves around a foot. For the north side of St. Lawrence Island, northeast winds to 10 knots, north winds of 5 to 10 knots along Wales to west of Nome, waves just a couple of feet. Coming up through the lower Chukchi Sea, a mixed bag of 5 to 10 knot winds, waves generally 2-3 feet. Winds become more easterly north of Point Lay, so we have easterly winds generally near 15 knots, Wainwright through Kaktovik with 2 to 3 foot waves. And then on Wednesday, look for easterly winds along the Beaufort Sea coast, Utqiagvik to Kaktovik, 10 to 15 knots with 2 to maybe 3 foot waves. And then coming down along through the Chukchi Sea coastline, winds will generally have a northerly component, kind of a bit of a bend coming around the Lisburn Peninsula, but 15-knot winds or so with waves of 3 feet. And then finally, as we get to the west side of the Seward Peninsula, Wales, Port Clarence, north winds to 15 knots, waves 3 feet. And on the north side of St. Lawrence Island, Wednesday, winds will be out of the northeast at 10 knots with 2-foot waves around Gambell and Savunga.